Hello everybody again. I want to make this video a little different than before. I'm actually going to review a couple of products, but the main one that's being reviewed here is obviously the Joy Buzzer that I hold here. In this video, we're taking a closer look at this classic prank that's been bringing laughter since 1932. Originally, it was invented by Sir Adams of the SS Adams Company in 1928. He took an earlier version that was called the Zapper, which had a blunt point, so it would be like a blunt point and that could hurt when used. Adams took his new design to Dresden, Germany, where a machinist created the tools for a palm-sized version perfect for pranks. And that's why in 1932, SS Adams received a U.S. patent on the product. It is rumored that even President Franklin D. Roosevelt reportedly kept a Joy Buzzer to lighten up the mood anytime in the White House and stuff. And there's also rumors that it helped because of we're talking about the Great Depression of the time. Having something that was cheap and fun helped people go through, the Great Depression as well. In fact, you can look up more history on it, and I'm sure that on Google you'll find a lot of facts concerning the Joy Buzzer that has been an American icon. In 1987, Joseph's son, Bud Adams, redesigned it as the Super Joy Buzzer with a stronger mechanism and a louder buzz. And despite the unpopular misconception, the Joy Buzzer has never delivered an electric shock. It's always been a harmless, fun, buzzing sound. But of course, it has appeared in things from SpongeBob SquarePants to Simpson, and also the Joy Buzzer has cemented its place in pop culture. Now, in The Simpsons, not The Simpsons actually, in SpongeBob SquarePants, if you guys get to see the episode in the beginning, which is kind of interesting because they actually posted the episode, they posted the Fun Factory ad. They changed a few things on it and called it something Bob's House of Fun, whatever it was. But that's actually the ad from the Fun Factory, which I used to own, and I still do actually, with the name of House of the Unusual, but it was originally the Fun Factory. Now, let's get to the basics of the Joy Buzzer. When I was a kid, I only was introduced to the Joy Buzzer by seeing it in ads like here we're looking at the Honor House ad. And here is the Joy Buzzer. And, of course, it was prominent in almost every single ad of the time. You would see the Joy Buzzer listed among Johnson Smith, American Circle Corp. Most of them, every ad that you see always included in their ad the Joy Buzzer. So it was always a good sell. In the movie Batman with Michael Keaton, the Joy Buzzer, when the Joker used it, where he killed one of his enemies there, where he electrocuted the guy. I had a magic shop at the time of that movie, and I remember outside, like I couldn't keep them in the shelves because I would sell hundreds of them a week actually. And it was kind of crazy because it was so fun. But at that time, I used to have the deluxe Joy Buzzer from SS Adams, and I also had the regular Joy Buzzer. Now, one thing I'm going to bring that a lot of people aren't aware of this, but anyway, before I even get to explain that part, here is a U.S. patent that was issued it was filed in 1931, and it was issued to the inventor of the Joy Buzzer. And here's actually some spookycomics.com. You could see it here. They kind of drew the interior, how it was designed and all this stuff. Well, one of the things I always had a problem with the Super Joy Buzzer from SS Adams was that when I sold it, especially in the store, it was a lot more pricier and it felt heavier. Really, the quality itself was good, but there was a problem. This part right here was plastic, the little hump over here in the center, and it would pop up automatically. So even though the Joy Buzzer was good, it wasn't really as good as I would say it was. And let me put this here to the side here a second. Here is an original, one of the early Joy Buzzers of SS Adams. And as you could see, other companies have copied it. And okay, here's an original. Now, the older ones that I do have, the center is kind of more pointy. This one became flatter. I guess over time they figured it was going to be, it was going to be best to have it where it wouldn't hurt people as much. But anyway, this is not the Super Deluxe Joy Buzzer. The Super Deluxe Joy Buzzer, which I don't have any right here to show, I would have to look in my storage for them. If anybody is interested in seeing what it looks like, I do have them. I will show I have quite a few of them. But, and here again, here's another ad. If you could see with the two different ads, the one I showed before, you see the Joy Buzzer is always listed in the different mail order ads. One thing that I always had is whether it was the deluxe version of the Joy Buzzer or the regular version that SS Adams would put out, is that the regular version, when you used it 2 or 3 times, it would break. And then I had the little kid coming back asking for his money back, or he wanted a new one. I found that to be very troublesome, especially when you sell a lot and they're always breaking. So this company is funny because they did take a lot of the products from SS Adams and improve on them and stuff. But this is Loftus Novelties. Loftus Novelties made a Joy Buzzer. It's the same thing as the other, but when you wound it up, it had an anti-wound up mechanism that the wind up inside wouldn't break. And this Joy Buzzer, was finally the answer that you wouldn't get any returns because a kid could use it for, weeks and weeks at a time, and the mechanism would not break. So I found that the product from Loftus Novelties was definitely the product that I wanted to sell. And I, at that time, stopped selling SS Adams Joy Buzzers and got them all from Loftus Novelties. Now, one of the things I want to say about the Joy Buzzer specifically is that when I was a kid, I saw the Joy Buzzer one time. I was walking in a store on Broadway in New York City, and they had one. And they had one, like, I'm going to put a couple of pictures now on the top so you could see the different scenes, different companies that have made the Joy Buzzer. And you can also see in the one picture that you're going to see in a few seconds that has all the Joy Buzzers. I got the one that had the little poly bag and it said SS Adams. And I remember it was selling for 50 cents. And I was so amazed. I mean, I couldn't believe I had seen the legendary Joy Buzzer that I saw only in comic book ads like this one, which of course, Honor House was the one I always looked at. And I always wanted it. And of course, that's another thing a lot of people don't realize. Joy Buzzer is actually a trademark that SS Adams owns. They own the trademark for the Joy Buzzer. And that's why a lot of companies later called it the Buzzer and all that stuff. There was another company also that did produce at the time. And again, you're going to be seeing a lot of photographs above. And those photos are of the different Joy Buzzer stuff. There was a company that did reproduce similar things. One, if you see the one that I'm printing right now, or the one that I'm showing the photo, this would give you a slight shock, kind of like the electric shocking pen, the electric shocking book, but it's not a good seller. And there was also another one that you would wind up, but it was really big and it would spark, and it was called a hand sparker. And of course, they've tried to improve. And online, if you go, there's people that actually have tried to take this Joy Buzzer and make it where it would be an electric thing. There's a company called Indestructibles and stuff where people have DIY projects, and you could see it if you go there, that you can find different things they've done with the Joy Buzzer. Now, one thing I'm going to say, and I'm going to add right now, is that the Joy Buzzer, regardless what people think of it or not, is an awesome item, because if you take this and put it on your hand and you go to shake anybody, they're going to jump, even though it's just a buzzing sound. You got to make sure you don't do it to somebody who's very old. But I remember my pastor one time told me a story. It was kind of funny, from a previous church I was in for many, many years. And the pastor passed away, but his son, it was really hilarious. His son, one day, they had some people over from church and they were doing a big gathering. And the son zapped some older fellow with a Joy Buzzer, and he got in a lot of trouble. But, the Joy Buzzer, in my opinion, has been probably the best classic novelty ever made. And it's still, if you go anywhere, you go to any store, Five Below, whatever, Target, they always have the Joy. Of course, they made plastic versions. And believe it or not, they actually work very well. Even the plastic ones have a pretty good lasting power, a lot more than the original earlier buzzers, especially the ones that were made in Japan or China, should I say. I think at that time in the 70s, mostly made in Japan, but they would break, man. You wound them up one time and you're lucky if you got 2 wind-ups out of them. Okay, guys, here is the continuation to the first part of the video. In this part, I'm going to review 3 very popular books that were sold by the Johnson Smith and Honor House products. Now, this is an exclusive Johnson Smith item. The laser book plans that showed you how to construct what's called a real working laser. It shows you how to take a basic, pistol, like a toy pistol, and convert it into a real simulated working laser, okay? And this is a very nice set of plans that have been sold to, oh my gosh, since probably the early 60s, I think. This here, they also offered another one called the phaser gun. So you could either build the laser or the phaser gun. Now this is an exclusive Johnson Smith. This one here was sold mostly through Honor House. In here, it shows you how you can recreate strongman stunts. And this is an average Joe without weightlifting and stuff can do, because of course, each of the strength or each of the feats in this book have a way of working. It's more not for how strong you are, but it's just that they will work if you follow the steps. Like over here, you can lift one man over your head with one hand. How to smash rocks with a blow of your fist. Well, this actually was used. A lot of the stuff in here were used in the early 1930s and 40s, where you would have strongman, in sideshows in Coney Island and all that stuff. So here in this book is an explanation of how to recreate strongman stunts. It's a great book. I've sold it for many, many years, and it's a really nice thing for anybody who loves weightlifting and stuff and just wants to add to their He-Man status. This book here was mostly sold only in the Johnson Smith catalog, and it's a pretty well done book. But of course, how much can you really learn from this book that promised you to become Bruce Lee overnight? This was actually more of a great sales pitch, but this American Judo Illustrated is a very classic Johnson Smith book. And now I will go on to my other review. In this part of the review, I have a box here that I have a couple that I came across, very, very old novelties. If you guys remember, in many Johnson Smith and Honor House ads would sell you a walkometer. It was called the Walkomatic, and what this did is it told you how many steps you would walk each day. Of course, this works with counterweights inside as you walk. It's got a little thing that goes back and forth and the numbers move. So each step you take, this is really ancient compared to the ones we have today, which are electronics. Over here, we have an original cigarette loads or exploding cigarettes. If you guys remember, American Circle Corp, Honor House, Johnson Smith, all sold this particular item. Here is a really rare one, and the plugs are like in here, but I want to make sure because it's actually falling apart. Over here we have an original voice thrower, which was Throw Your Voice. This was from it says here, see, Fun Incorporated was the company that made it back in, I guess this one says 1956. So these are classics that I have because I do have the originals. And this one here, it's not the rubber band one that you put. This kind of was like a little kind of whistle that you would put, in your mouth. This is very dangerous. Any kid could choke on this if it was done today. I don't think it would even be legal. But this says here, place voice thrower on tongue against roof of mouth, wide end towards inside of mouth, then blow sharply through it. Trying not to move your lips, then practice imitations, talking, etc. Now, this is really, really old, and later they had the more wider one that has a rubber band around it, There's some pictures on the internet, or if I find, some of mine, I'm going to show it. But here's another one. Here is a toothpick. It says hot pepper toothpick. And this is kind of funny because all it really is a tooth attached to a toothpick. So you're supposed to pretend. Let me see if I can even open it because I don't want to break it since it is a very old. Oops, toothpicks. One toothpick came out. Oh, okay, I'm sorry. This is not the one I was thinking. This is actually hot pepper toothpicks. They're toothpicks that are dipped in pepper. And I guess, that's the fun part about it. This is an item that, well, I don't know if it's still even being sold today, but these are hot pepper toothpicks, because there is one that has a toothpick with a tooth attached to it. In here, we have an early Trick soap. Later on, this soap became, wow, you could tell how old this is, that apparently at one time, I guess, water damage on the item. This soap, and I'm afraid to even open this one, but this soap here is obviously, see, it has faded away. It's, there you go, see? It's supposed to be a black soap, and it's supposed to say that. Now, there were many versions done of this. One was a soap that actually you would keep it upside down, and the back of it would either have a red dye center or black, and then when a person, it was kind of fun when you read the ad because it said you're going to wash the person dirty, which in reality is just a dye there. But later on, there was also a version of the black soap, which was a black soap, and it looks stupid because if it's a black soap, obviously you know it's going to be a black soap. So this product, even though it was a great thing to run ads on, it was really not as good and promising as it did. Now here, I'm sure a lot of people have remembered the Python black snakes, little black things. You will light them in with a match, and a snake would come out of it. This is an original packet, which this is actually still being sold today in fireworks stores. Over here you have the prank gums. Obviously the prank gums here, they're all snapping. These are more modern, I believe, but they're like the snapping gum. When you pull it out, mousetrap device hits you. In this part of the review, I'm going to review some classic ads, and I'm going to give a little bit of a history on the House of the Unusual as well. This is for those that have stayed this long watching the video. I hope you enjoyed this part because it's really fun and exciting, since I am going to show one or two classics. Okay, so here, which I've shown before, is the famous Honor House ad. Now this ad ran in a lot of comics. I'll put it like this so you can see it better with the glare. And the classics are obviously the 7-foot Frankenstein. In fact, when I did the review on the 7-foot Frankenstein recently, it's got over 30,000 hits so far. I did a review on the Secret Book Safe. I also did a review on the 7-foot Ghost, which is now passing over 5,000 views. I'm still to do Throw Your Voice, the X-ray glasses, the Spy Scope. But I did say in the past video that I was going to do a review on all so-called different ads. Now here, oh, you guys might remember this. This is actually a lady that I have here, which is an actual signed photograph of Joanne. Can't see the last name here. Davis, I think it is. And she's the one that appeared in Hold That Ghost with Abbott and Costello. She was a famous actress of the time. But anyway, behind I have another original ad here. And let me see if I can just shoot it that way. See, you see how it has the X-ray glasses and the see behind glasses, which, were not as popular. In fact, the see behind glasses showed up a lot in the 70s, but I don't know how well it did. The one that did very good was always Throw Your Voice, the X-ray glasses, and the silent dog whistle, which I'm going to review in a future video. Over here, this ad is actually from an inside a Johnson Smith catalog. Here, everybody knows the classic Ghost from Johnson Smith. Well, in this catalog here, they actually kind of made it look like the Melton Company Ghost, where he is sideways a little bit, and it makes me wonder if this is one actual picture Melton Company might have taken, because if you look at this photograph here, you'll see the resemblance. I'll put it here to the side so I can show you guys, because I believe I have the ad here. Here is another, of course, classic ad, which was for the Polaris nuclear submarine. Now, this ad appeared in one of those Popular Mechanic magazines from the late 60s, early 70s, that they were small and very thick. Here is one of my favorite ads, which sold the vampire blood from Imagineering, which today some bottles go over $300, which is really crazy. But you know, they had the classic, the snowstorm tablets, which later the snowstorm tablets, even though they sold very well, and it's probably the best item I've ever played with, they were actually poisonous, so they became illegal. I have quite a few of them because I do have a whole card filled with them. And some people have asked me, can they buy it? And I don't sell it because, like I said, they're actually poisoned. And I could, here is another famous, we just finished reviewing the Joy Buzzer. Here's the Joy Buzzer. And here's one of my other favorite ads as a kid, the 25 Lessons in Hypnotism with the Hypno Coin. And as you guys know, you can actually get that in my company. Now, the hot seat here, this is an interesting item. I'm looking for my original, but originally it was a powder that it kind of, you know those hand warmers people get in winter? It was a reaction like that. This powder, the moment somebody sat on top of something, would become hot. So of course they wouldn't jump up like the cartoon here, but this is why advertising in the 1970s was such a great thing, because they always drew the cartoon where you didn't read the thing, you looked at the cartoon and you already assumed what it was, and that's how you spent your money. And then of course you read it, but that was the fun part. Here's the magic soap powder. Now the soap that I showed you guys a couple of minutes ago in the other review, this actually, the soap powder was another thing that I forgot to mention, that before they had the red soap, the black soap, and whatever, you would put this powder and it would react once a person wet the soap, and it would turn red or, you know, black. And so that now here is the exploding fountain pen, which is another great item, and I also will do a review on that pretty soon. But like I said, guys, this is one of my favorite ads, and of course what started everything, the itching powder, which was the very first product SS Adams ever had. Now in this ad that I'm going to show you guys right here is the 7-foot monster, but apparently and wait, before I even show that, let me go back here. You see how this Johnson Smith, this is the Melton Company ad for the Monster Ghost, and here's the famous bat, which I'm looking for mine so I can review it. But I'm going to show you guys what I said earlier. You see the resemblance between that guy and this? So here you have the Melton Company ad, and here you have Johnson Smith. So I can tell you right off the bat that this guy stole from this one here. Now, this one here shows an actual person. You see, it's an actual photograph, and here Johnson Smith, which then again, it could have been Johnson Smith, but I believe the catalog is, it might be from the early 70s, this catalog where this ad came from. And this here is, you know, early 70s too. I believe, knowing that the Johnson Smith had the ghost before the Melton Company, that the Melton Company might have used the same photograph along there. But as you can see, there is a classic between the two there. They look the same. Again, guys, this is of course, the bat. And what I wanted to show you guys concerning, okay, here is, concerning the 7-foot Frankenstein, or 6-foot actually. In this ad, this is a very early Honor House ad. In fact, they called themselves Empire Merchandising Company. So this one is like late 60s. And here they have the Polaris sub. Now, it was not, this company was used in New York City, whatever, but it became Honor House. It's definitely the same ownership and everything from Honor House. Another thing I wanted to show you throughout the ages, this is the most popular ad with the 6-foot Frankenstein here. And in this 6-foot Frankenstein, there was another one. See, look at this, how they tried to sell the 7-foot plastic one. But what they did here is that if you notice, the image of the 6-foot is this, and this is the image of the 7-foot. But the way they did the arm here, it's kind of, I don't know what happened here. Whoever the artist was that did this, somehow, first of all, it would be 7 feet, not 6. But this was an ad that ran in a couple of magazines. Guessing definitely was some type of misdirection there somehow. But anyway, I just wanted to show you that some ads out there are really rare, and some books have this, but they're selling you the 6-foot Frankenstein. But in reality, this one, if you notice the difference in the face and everything, this is the green 7-foot one, and this is the 6-foot color version. But of course, as the late 60s came in and 70s, and Honor House still ran these ads, when you would send for this particular Frankenstein, you still got the 7-foot green one. which they replaced with this. Now here, this is an older ad. This is, when it says monster size monsters, they're not selling BONEY the skeleton here. They're selling you a 5 foot tall jointed skeleton. I believe the company that made it was Beastly, but that's basically, you know, a jointed skeleton that glows in the dark. And, you know, I have quite a few of those. I got like 5 or 6 of those original that I used to sell. But this skeleton right here is not the 7 foot BONEY, even though, again, they kept the original image from the Perfect Man, which was the model kit sold in the 1950s and 60s through the famous Captain Company in Famous Monsters of Filmland. Here is one of the rare ads for the 6 foot missile firing tank that I reviewed in the last episode that I did a week ago, so I think, of the Polaris nuclear submarine. As we go further, guys, I have a couple more ads here. Here is an earlier version of the Honor House. And as you could see, they had here a grenade, exploding grenade. Again, the silent dog whistle, and a couple of very interesting products. So over here, we go to a more modern one. Here we have, again, BONEY. If you see BONEY, they're still using the same image as over here. But the only difference is that the product is different. BONEY here is actually a poster. Over there is a jointed skeleton. You could see that they still use the same image. And this one here, even though it says color, it's the green Frankenstein. It resembles nothing to what's there. Again, and of course, the ghost is there as well. And here it is, my favorite ad, which was the ghost that I always even memorized it. It says, scare the daylights out of your victim as this terrifying light ghost hovers and darts over them, etc., etc. I kept this. In fact, this ad right here was the first ad I ever memorized growing up because it was my favorite. Now, I want to show you guys one of the original John's Honor House catalogs that they would send. Now, I happened to come across this. I have a couple of them, but this is, I want to show you guys what it looked like and see how many of you guys actually remember this, because this is a rarity and it's definitely one of my most treasured items. This catalog, the way it was, and if you guys remember, when you would order in the 70s an Honor House product, not every single envelope would have one, but if you were lucky enough to get the catalog, look what it looks like. See, it has all, now I'm going to show you in pieces like this because it's very large. And as you could see, here's the Creature from the Black Lagoon poster. You can actually get that on my eBay. I actually have that poster. It's 6 feet tall. It's a very, very famous poster. It's been around for a very long time. And here, what makes this catalog really special to me is the fact that in this catalog, they have the 7 foot ghost. So this is the one I received when I was a kid. There's the secret book safe, the original spud gun or potato gun. If you see, the design was different because in the early 70s, or late 60s, early 70s, they actually sold a different potato gun before the design changed. And this was originally not invented, but it was found by Joseph Cosman, who is the nephew of the Uncle Milton Company. Of course, Uncle Milton is the company that makes the ant farm and all that stuff. Well, Joseph Cosman was his nephew, and Uncle Milton is the company that basically they used to sell all that stuff. Here you got the famous secret spy scope, the Raquel Welch pillow, which if you look at the book Mail Order Mysteries by Kirk Damaris, it took me an entire day looking for that pillow, my original, until finally Kirk was kind of like, oh man, don't tell me I can't put it on the book. I finally found it and he was able to display. Here you have BONEY the skeleton, and you have the 7 foot Frankenstein up here. And here is, when I said Strongman Stunts from earlier, here is Strongman Stunts. Here you see the book I showed earlier. And especially for Todd, my buddy Todd, here are the glow-in-the-dark creatures. These are, I believe that they, oh no, okay, these are just glow-in-the-dark creatures, but they look very similar to the hair-growing monsters. I thought I had found a new ad for my buddy Todd. So here is Throw Your Voice. So this catalog is really super great. and I take very, very, very good care of it, because this one is actually the only one I still have. I have 4 of these, but the one that has the ghost is the one that means the most to me, because this is actually the one I received as a kid. So I have this one in my house here. And like I said, this is an earlier Honor House catalog that you would get. And again, not every single order that you order from Honor House would include a catalog. But when it did in the 70s, it was not in book form. It was this folding. And according to what Mr. Wagman told me when I met up with him many, many years ago, he said that this made them a fortune as compared to the old catalogs that were costly. Now, guys, I'm going to now show you, in essence, what made the Fun Factory, or what made House of the Unusual emerge as what I do today. And okay, back in the early 70s, early 80s actually, when I got married, I wanted to start a mail order company. So I started selling books in the earlier days and stuff. And as I sold books, well, I still wanted to do my love, which was the original love I had was for novelty. So the very first catalog I ever produced, the first time I ever actually got into the novelties, I started selling in Popular Science and Popular Mechanics an ad which I ran under classified, and it would say Free Flying Saucer Plans catalog, $2. Now I would sell the catalog for $2 and then offer the free plan. So what I would send was actually this, and it was called Top Secret UFO Blueprint. Now this was published, it says here, November of 1997, volume 1, November 1. Now I had, and I was selling most of the novelties earlier, but this is one of the first books that kind of launched me in the time. Now, what it really is a U.S. patent, and then here is the 6-foot monster that you could buy that I would sell, and I had in the back page my very first ad I ever did. Now this ad is from 1993, if you guys see there. By this time, Fun Factory had already, I had started it with Lou Wise, and I had slowly transferred the name over to House of the Unusual. But prior to that, I actually called it Nastex Industries. And then it settled on House of the Unusual as I had me having my magic shop. And the shop was House of Unusual. And then when I met Lou and stuff, and we couldn't keep using the name Fun Factory, I decided on House of the Unusual. And then this was my very, very first catalog I produced in House of the Unusual. And what I did with this catalog is I tried to make it so that it resembled the Honor House catalog, but instead of making it, 24 by 22, I made it 11 by 17. Now, if you guys see, I've always been in love with the 7-foot ghost. And in this, because this, I obviously they're old copies, and back then it was hard to get a good copy done anywhere, really. And when you got it in large quantities, this is what you got from the printer. So that little kid that you see there is my 37-year-old daughter. She was about 2 years old when I started developing this. And so you guys understand basically what how it transpired. This catalog I put together by myself, and I was doing House of the Unusual when I joined forces with Lou Wise. And here is, see, the original Smoke Clouds, the 20 Hypnotic Control, the Silent Dog Whistle. Now this catalog, when I put this together, this was done with the old-fashioned paste up, where you had to paste one thing and then, at a time. And it was crazy. It took me weeks to finish. When I joined with Lou Wise, even though I had House of the Unusual, or as I said, remember when I told you guys House of Unusual? Before it became House of the Unusual, this you could see it's the old name. This is from the magic shop I had. Now, at the same time I had the magic shop is when I joined forces with Lou Wise to do the mail order thing, and we started the Fun Factory. So that you guys understand the timeline here. I started in 1985 selling books and stuff, and then in 1990, 91, 92, I came up with it. I had a magic shop in, actually, I'm sorry, 89, and it lasted to about 91, 92. And I had it for approximately 2.5, 3 years. And then I developed this catalog for that magic shop as I was still selling things like this book here, you know, plans and stuff in the mail. So then I got a hold of Lou Weiss, and then we said, hey, let's get together, let's do this. And Lou says, let's do the Fun House or Fun Factory, which was a company that he had ran in the late 60s, and it lasted for like 10 years. The company made well over $250,000 a year at the time. Again, here is another ad, and here is where I developed a more modern House of the Unusual. So this was a better ad from the original. Again, the ghost, the light. You could see the time difference that I was selling the posters here for $29. Now they sell for $149. Look at the difference and whatever. But anyway, this I developed after I left Lou and I stayed on my own. So this, I'm going a little bit ahead of here, but I stayed with House of the Unusual. But when I joined forces with Lou for the original Fun Factory, here is the original Fun Factory catalog that Lou and his professional people put together for me. Of course, I had done most. They took a lot of my original catalog and just, you know, added stuff. Now, over here, exclusive fun products by mail. This is, if you notice, this guy here, the scare, is actually a rubber stamp that they were selling at the time, and I used it because I liked the face. And then this is a famous magician you guys know from different, you know, magic books and catalogs and stuff. And over here, very, very hard to see, you have my little daughter next to the 7-foot ghost there. And this is for the famous image from the electric shocking book. And of course, like the Vic Lawson catalog and everything always said, be the life of the party. And right here, if you guys have an old comic book from 1993, you'll see my ad there as well. Now, again, I was running House of Unusual as a magic shop, and I had changed the name to Nastix Industries for a time being after my shop was kind of closed and stuff. I don't know if I actually developed it in between the shop because back then in the day, you needed to have, if we were going to run ads in a magazine, you needed to have what was called an in-house advertising agency. What you did with the agencies, you would automatically get 15% off. And in order to be able to run ads, like in Popular Science, you needed, you know, an agency to run it for you. So that's where the name Nastix Industries came, because I was using that name to run the ads. And then Fun House, House of Unusual was the magic shop and so forth. Then when Lou Weiss suggested we keep the name Fun Factory for the comic book, because Fun Factory was an established company that people would know for many, many years. That company, Fun Factory, of course, at the time, the guy who owned the company, Jack Aboff, the Fun House, which you guys will recognize where you have the $1 million in U.S. banknotes. He always had ads in all the comic books with a big money bag. He calls Lou and says, hey, guys, I had purchased the name Fun Factory when the company went belly up in the early 70s. So if you guys want the name and whatever. So I said to Lou, what do you think? And Lou said, no, absolutely not. We're not going to use. So we switched it over to House of the Unusual. And the reason it became House of the Unusual is because everybody kept saying, when you say House of Unusual, they would say House of the, and they would put the die in. So I said, you know what, let me trademark the name. And then I trademark House of the Unusual. Here, my brother-in-law, my wife's brother, drew a lot of these images for me. This one here. This one here was his. This one here was his. This one here. And this one are images that he drew for me for this catalog. The center of the catalog, again, had all the classics. What I did add here is the Build 9-foot UFO, which was sold by the Johnson Smith Company. And, you know, I had the Switchblade comb. And then in this, here is obviously a better picture where you can see my daughter there, where she's actually next to the ghost there. This is, again, my 37-year-old daughter. You can see, well, you can't really see it, but I have an old TV set in my room. They're black and white from the time. This must have been early 1985, I think, where I took that picture. 87 or 88, I took that because she was 2 and she was, the other thing, of course, stink bombs that were here, very popular items, the secret book safe. Lou Weiss had trademarked a character called Captain Fun. And Captain Fun was a superhero that you can see some old comics from the 1970s. When you look at some old mail order Fun Factory ad, you'll see Captain Fun. That is my character. I still haven't really introduced him to the public, but I do own the trademark on that. And that's something I will consider. This here, by the way, is when I said the more modern ad. This actually, you can fold it down and you fold it like this and in half, and it would become a little folding catalog that I would send to the people whenever I got orders in the mail, because I used to run a lot of ads in Popular Science and Mechanics. When I met Cavarage, one of the greatest friends I ever had, he decided, he would, being a comic book artist that he decided to actually create a comic book with me. And here it's called The House of the Unusual Gazette. And if you look closely, that's supposed to be me in the window there. It has a little mustache and stuff. It says House of the Unusual. And of course, this is, will be page 1. It's a storyline here of me. And it's the story is based on me looking for the 7-foot robot plans. And I'm going to tell a whole story how I came across finding them. But I finally, after 40 years, found them. And here is a beautiful 4-page illustrated comic book of see, here's where it says, my God, man, you've done it. In other words, the plans, they're legit. This comic book was drawn based on me searching for those plans. So I'm going to put this here to the side, and I have one of the earlier items that I started selling in Popular Science when I was running my House of the Unusual ads and stuff. Other than the book I showed you how to, free flying saucer plans was the actual ad. I used to sell Power Pack, a Power Pack you put in back in NASA, actually created back in the day in the early 60s or late 60s. And this were the plans for the what is it here? The piston power rocket belt. Actually, that's what it was, a rocket belt. And I sold this in Popular Mechanics and Popular Science for a long time. And I thought it was kind of interesting. One particular guy, I'll never forget this. He goes to me after he got the plans. He goes, after looking, it'll cost me over $1 million to build this. I want my money back. I thought it was hilarious because I'm like, if this guy actually think you're going to build the rocket power plant out of your home without experience? I mean, you sell the item because it's obviously, they are real plans and schematics, but something like this is going to cost a lot of money to produce. This is more like a novelty and you just want to have, If you have the money and you have the power, maybe you can make it. Here, it's all here, the parts you need, everything's listed. And anyway, these are the rocket power belt that I used to sell. Now, one last thing I want to show you guys is that in the last couple of months, I have published a couple of books on Amazon. And I wanted to show you guys that it's been a fun process. And right here, this particular book here, it's called The Great Monster Ghost Adventure. It's, if you see here, Eddie Guevara and Chuck Caputo with this up. It's actually supposed to be my story, how I read comics and, I came across the famous Monster Ghost and I was so excited waiting for it. And, here's the invisible control line. I get my ghost in the mail. Guys, if you are interested in this particular book for your children and stuff, it's meant to be read between the ages of 5 and 10. You can look it up under, if you go to Amazon and look up Eddie Guevara and Chuck Caputo, you're going to see the list. I have about 12 books on Amazon right now, 5 being children's books, and 4 being adult books, and I think you'll find them fun and fascinating. So again, go to Amazon and look for the Great Monster Ghost Adventure. It's something you will probably want to give your kids. Halloween, of course, is a little past right now. It's going to be obviously when this show comes out, but it's something you guys can probably get and they can have fun with. You can teach your kids, about the, what it's fun to grow up with mail order and with people. Now, I want to show, this is a special bonus. And the bonus I'm showing is, one, here is this is part, but this was a miniature Go Ship Times newsletter that I published a couple of years ago, in 2008 actually. And then Joe Poflansky kind of forced me to go back into it, and we made a small version, but I just left this out before. I just wanted to show you Go Ship Times and this particular magazine. But the bonus I have for you guys is, I'm sure you guys have heard of the famous black box bank. Now this one's a brand new piece I've taken out of the box, and this here is just so that I can open it. So I left the original tab in here. But when the Addams Family came out in the early 60s or mid 60s, Pointer Products designed a bank, and they called it the Addams Family Thing Bank. Over the years, the bank has developed into a smaller version. I don't have an actual one right now because it's just like a bonus footage I was going to do. I'm going to do more reviews in the near future. But this particular bank is a little different. They made three. You would see them in the Johnson Smith catalog. The one, the hand would come out and get the stuff. Through time, the hand turned green and rubbery, which was easier to get than the original, kind of like claw hand. Now this one uses more like the old-fashioned claw, but what made this bank different is that this bank, and I'll show you a second there, this is the box, and there is another one brand new in the box here. If I can open it here, you guys can see. This is actually a factory find I got, and they're all mint in the box, although they're known to give up the ghost just from setting. There's a gear inside that they do sell on eBay that you can replace, but this bank's just from being brand new, leaving them alone, they give up the ghost. Now, the reason it's called the instant refund is Johnson Smith called the black bank just the black box. When later on it was just called the black box, they took away the Addams Family name from it. And when it was just called the black box, they called the pickpocket bank was the name Johnson Smith used in their catalogs. This one was called the anti-bank, because what this one does, unlike this one, when you put the quarter in, the bank would, the hand would come out and take the quarter. What this one did is it would throw the quarter back at you. And so this was called the anti-bank. If you see the hand there, you see, the quarter would go in and it would go, whatever. And then what it would do is that the bank would shoot the coin back at you. Now, these are new. I've never put batteries in them. This one, unfortunately, is showing some wear and tear, but that's because I believe the boxes got destroyed. I have 12 of them, 6 with original boxes, 6 without, but they're still new, not used. And I want to show you guys also, as like I said, the black box bank has developed into many, many different sizes and over time. So here, they're all made by Pointer Products, and now, of course, China has taken them over. The patent expired many, many years ago, but when you still, this one says here, made in Japan. So this is not Pointer product here, but this one, and here's the patent number. Here, this one's got a couple damage here, but this is damage. It's actual damage, but this is the Dracula's bank. Now, I have about 4 of these Dracula banks, but I just wanted to show you guys. See the difference in size? The original Addams Family Thing Bank is the same size as the Dracula's bank, and it uses kind of like a green hand. Let me see if I can, you see? It has a green hand that it kind of like a claw, and later on the hand changed into more like a real rubbery hand, and some of them have them in green. I have a copy of every bank made. This one, I guess Japan took it. I would think it's still same patent number, but this patent, if you look at it, is definitely, patented by the Pointer Products company. Although they could have, yeah, I'm sorry. It is the Pointer Product. Yeah, they were made in Japan. For a second there, I got a blank on that. But this is 1968 Pointer Products. And here's this one size. And then, of course, they had the original bigger size. So they had 2 different molds for them. Having said that, guys, I will tell you, we'll do a review on all these banks soon. There's quite a few. I became a crazy nut collector for this bank because I loved the fact that the hand would come and grab the coin. I thought it was the greatest product ever done. Over time, they've developed banks that when it opens, it goes like, haha, you hear like a guy laughing. They also have another one called the Internal Revenue Man, which is the same bank, but obviously it's got like Uncle Sam on it and all that stuff. Having said that, guy, thank you. I want to thank you for taking this trip down memory lane with me today. If you are as passionate about vintage novelties and mail order treasures as I am, please be sure to check out House of the Unusual for more unique finds. You can see more of our archives and exclusive contents at our YouTube channel, House of the Unusual. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss another trip into the world of nostalgic magic. Thank you for watching.